clan. You see, we existed first as seeds of eternity before we were transported into time. And by the act of God's authority, He determined that you will be a Jangfa. You will come from the Jangfa family. There was a time in the studio when God ordained that there will be a family among men called the Jangfa clan. He said some things before that family was invoked. Only a man that can peep into the light. Jesus told me that we are blind because we do not desire His presence. You know, many of us think the presence of God will just come on you and then you feel great. Meanwhile, I thank God for your life. I won't say more than that. It's not just feeling. It switches you off. That's when you attain to your fullest potential. See, when the mango tree was created, its roots were to be in the ground. When fish was created, its habitat was in water. If you remove fish from water, it will die. When man was created, his habitat was Eden. Eden is an environment, not a location. Eden is the environment of His presence. Adam was supposed to be a giant, and his height was to be occasioned by the environment. A giant that can peep into the heavens and receive visitors from heaven. For instance, the Bible says that every name that Adam gave the creatures, that was the name thereof. The names existed before Adam named them. He had the ability to peep through the glory of God. And I wept for my poverty. I wept for my lack. I thought I was a great preacher. I wept for my blindness. From that day, I now evolved a culture. I now found the book of Psalms relevant. I saw why David was always talking about the presence. Worship in His presence. Come, let's go into the house of God. And when he was inviting people, there was no building. No building. A man came somewhere and slept. When he woke up, he said, "Kai, this is a dreadful place. God was in this place. I did not know it." He had to put me to sleep to show me He was around. And He switched on my spiritual senses, showed me the landscape of the terrain. So the spiritual landscape is different from the physical landscape. The physical landscape was a place of stone for pillow. Those days they called the place laws by its terrain in the natural. The place had to be renamed instantly. When the man saw the place from the spirit, he said, "This is the house of God." There was no building. He said, "This is the gate of heaven." Surprisingly, the first time the gate of heaven was mentioned in the Bible, it was on earth. It was not in paradise. The knowledge you have learned, the sociology, the psychology you studied all these 4 years, you will find it wanting when you peep into the brightness. So when Jesus comes and He stands, His presence activates that brightness. And you peep into a corridor by the power of the true light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. Even if an unbeliever comes into that light, you will know this one is from God. There is a resident discernment in every man that came from the hand of the God of creation. There's a resident discernment for him to discern that this light is from the true light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He downloaded military strategies from the glory. He downloaded formations, downloaded the purpose of tribes. He said, "Reuben, some time ago you were sentenced to a life of servitude, but looking from the vista, He said, let Reuben live." Do you realize that's where we can change the causes? Because the causes were not there before in that place. The gossips came here. If we find a man of sufficient stature that can look from there, he can say, yours is not dead. They said your father brought an idol that is killing people, but when we look at what God said when your family was called, it was not dead. So let Reuben live, let him not die. It was in time that the curses came. But when you were called as a nation, there was no curse there. Because it was a God of lights in whom there is no darkness. There's no variableness. That's where we derive. We need men of sufficient stature. Men that will desire the presence of Jesus passionately. Because when he comes, the glory will be bright. And the eyes of your understanding will be enlightened.